Welcome back to Walk in the Park, a podcast where we invite startup founders for a walk outside to get to know about their founder journey. Today I am in Oslo, on my way to Aker Brygge to meet with Agnes Arnadottir, co-founder of Bream Explorer. We'll talk about her learnings from building family companies and how is that compared to building a tech startup, a hardware startup. We'll touch some challenges and learnings from fundraising and also how they invested into 2 big electrical boats right before COVID, and of course talk about culture and much more. So put your headsets on and join us for a walk in the park. Hi Agnes.
Hi.
And welcome to Walk in the Park.
Yeah, thank you.
And today Walk in the Park starts on the boat.
Yes,
So,
it's a
yeah?
perfect start.
So tell us about 2 words about yourself and what do you do?
Yes, my name is Agnes Arnadottir. I am born and raised in Iceland in a small fishing village. I moved to Norway when I was 22. And I started this company in 2018 together with Espen, who is my co-founder and a former study colleague. And this is our 3rd boat. It's fully electric. The name is Brisen. So we have 1 boat in Oslo and we have 4 electric and hybrid vessels up north.
So we were so lucky to get on one of the boats.
Yes.
And let's go and have a quick tour before we continue.
Perfect. Yeah.
So tell us about the boat. What is that so special about this boat? It looks beautiful, I should say.
Thank you. So it's purpose-built. That's the most special thing. When we started the company, we wanted to design the perfect platform for nature experiencing. So we worked on the design for some time, and then it took a year to build the first boat. They look more or less the same, but this one is the one that is kind of most flexible in the layout inside, as we also use it as a floating restaurant and have different concepts here. That's also why we have loose chairs, and we can make this. We've had weddings here, we've had seminars, meetings, and all kinds of activities
And it's
concepts.
fully electrical and good for the ocean and for the planet.
Yes, very silent.
Yeah, we
So
can
that's
hear
why we
that.
call our tours, for instance, Silent Oslo Fjord Cruise, which the guests upstairs are going on now.
Okay, so now we need to leave. Yeah. So
So,
how did you get the idea?
Well, so my family, they started a whale watching company in Iceland in '94, my father and my uncle. And when I moved to Norway, and I was 22, and I was completely done with both tourism and family business and everything related to that. So I studied social science at Blindern. Then I worked in an environmental NGO, Bellona, for some time. And while I was working there, we had a cooperation project with my family company in Iceland, where we did literature study and eventually in the end retrofitted 2 of the old vessels in Iceland. They look more or less like this boat here. And we retrofitted it from like conventional diesel to fully electric. And it was a very exciting project. And at some point I got a question if, because the whale watching in Iceland is in the summertime, in northern Norway it's in the winter time. So I got a question in 2016 if I could start a daughter company in Norway from my family company in Iceland. So basically if I could start a daughter company and then rent the vessels from Iceland to Norway, the ones they were anyways not using in the wintertime. And I said yes. I didn't really have any experience with running a company, but I thought it would be a fun challenge, and it definitely was. It was very challenging. So it was a lot of fun. So I got up the fully electric schooner Opal to Tromsø in 2016, and we had a fantastic whale watching season in Kalvfjord in north of Tromsø. And then I just saw that there were huge opportunities in boat tourism in Norway, and that most vessels, they were old fishing vessels or old ferries built for another purpose, and the only new material were wind boats, and those are definitely not very good for whale watching or the environment. So first I contacted my former colleague Espen and asked if he wanted to join me on North Sailing Norway, which was the company, because it was a challenge to run it all by myself. And he said yes and moved from Brussels to Tromsø. And we worked on it together for another year. And then we At the same time, we're more and more convinced that it would be a good market for a purpose-built electric vessel. Also being inspired by the retrofit project in Iceland that we have had, we knew that the technology was ready. Tried to convince the family to go all in on the daughter company in Norway and invest in a new material, but didn't manage to convince them. So in the end, we started on our own.
So this is the start of
That's basically
this.
the backdrop, yeah.
Several things I'm now curious about. What did you feel when you actually got the confirmation, the market is ready, the family didn't support you? What did you feel then?
I was more or less convinced that the idea was good, and I was also more or less convinced that one day they would also see that this was a viable concept. And it was a challenge, but it's eventually the relationship now is good. So it was a little tough in the start. It's always difficult with family companies. My father sold his shares in the company in Iceland and reinvested in Brim Explorer, and those kind of changes, it's always a little bit emotional. Quite tight family for.
But it was also about the technology was so new, and many people really didn't believe in that. It was
no, and find it risky, and I can understand that in retrospect. And also, I didn't really have maybe the convincing experience to build it up at that point.
But what do they say now? Do they say that's a cool idea?
Yeah, I think so.
So let's go back to Espen. You were studying together,
yes,
right? You
we
know
studied
him from
together.
before? Yeah?
Yes.
So what was your main arguments with yourself why he's the good co-founder?
Basically because when we studied together at the university, we always ended up in the same study groups. We had kind of the same rhythm, complementary. Then we worked together in Europeisk Ungdom, which is a youth organization, where he was the Secretary General and I was the president. And when I was in Tromsø sitting there during the first season, I realized, okay, I don't have money to hire a lot of people. I need someone to help me. So I need a person that can do basically anything, and that is a doer. And Espen is that, 100%. So he started as a sales marketing manager, and then we got a new sales manager. Then he took over as the CFO, and then as the company grown, he has grown with the company and taken on several critical roles until we've had the finances to actually get in.
More people.
More people, yeah.
Was it easy to convince him?
Yes, it was surprisingly easy. Yeah, first it was like, do you want to join me on this thing? And then he did, but that was also a startup, basically. Even though it was a daughter company, we were kind of on our own, and it was a challenge, a fun challenge. And then. So
he moved, as well.
Yeah.
So it was a big step for him too.
It was, but I think at that time he was already kind of ready for something new. He'd been in Brussels for some years, and was dreaming of becoming a fisherman as his father-in-law. But then this was, almost that, at least something with boats. So there's decent sailing. What
started the tour?
We can go a full day on one charge on electricity, and and as you can maybe see now, the design is special, but we made it from the guest perspective with several decks with a lot of windows, so that even if we have a full boat of 145 people, everyone kind of has enough space and good views.
Finishing on between you and Espen, and it's still working well. It's still a good dynamic between you two.
Oh yes, it works very well, and I think that's kind of the main reason why we have succeeded, is that it has been the two of us, and we have our kind of different strengths and weaknesses, and we have been through some tough times, both with battery fire on a boat and with COVID and a lot of other things, and being able to, I think it would have felt very lonely to be a single founder, because when I was down, he dragged me up, and the other way around. So we kind of both ventilate but also discuss more complex issues. And eventually, even though we tend to disagree on some things, we always agree in the end.
Was it conscious for you that you have to have a co-founder, that you don't want to be a single founder when you decided to start a company?
No, not really. It just came kind of organically. So with North-Selling Norway, I just needed someone to help me. And then when we together saw that there were some good opportunities, I wanted to pursue that. Well, first we tried to do it in a family company, and then we agreed that okay, let's do it on our own.
If we look at the differences or similarities between building a family company and building a startup, a hardware startup, what's the big difference?
Oof, that's a very good question. Actually, I remember when I was probably like 15, 16 years old, I was taking a plane to Reykjavik to the capital in Iceland from Húsavík. And I read an article about family companies. And I took out the paper and I gave it to my dad. He was like, this is your issue. And so I was like, when I started Brim, so I broke out of a family company, but also with the backing of my father. So when I started the company with Espen, I also told my father that I'm only doing this if this does not become a new family company. So I want a professional board. It's fantastic that you want to join us, and we need you for the technical development, for the creativity, for your experience. But I don't want to have my father in my board, even though you're majority shareholder at that time. And I want, I don't want the family relations to be dominant in the company structure. And he 100% agreed and gave me full confidence. So.
Wow, that was pretty brave to have that discussion in the first place with your father.
Yeah.
And you think that was the right decision?
Yes, I'm very sure of that. Because I wouldn't have done this also if I wouldn't have been raised in a family company. But you get to see all the aspects of business, and it's a great learning, and it's also a great kind of baggage to carry with you. You see what you would yourself do differently, but you also see the good things that come with engagement and passion and vision. So I think at least I've tried to bring like the good aspects with me, and then avoided like the main pitfalls.
So
and of course, nothing is perfect, and my attempt is probably not perfect, but at least I've tried.
But it's a fun experience and a fun journey.
It's a fun experience. Yeah, it is definitely. Yeah.
So since you mentioned passion and vision, so what is your passion and the vision for Brim Explorer?
It's
this one boat is yours too, or not?
No, it's not.
Then we don't film it.
No. But it's a great boat, and it's also a hybrid. Oh, this one is hybrid electric actually.
Yeah, but your passion.
Yeah, the passion. Well, I have a strong passion for climate and environment. I worked in the Bellona Foundation for 3 years, where I was the personal assistant of Fredrik Hauge. It was a job I really wanted because I thought in this job I can learn like a lot about both climate technology, but also different environmental issues and solutions. And after 3 years of in your work, in my work in Bellona, I worked with. The job was to convince industry leaders to make the right decisions, convince politicians, the public opinion, and when I started North-Selling Norway, I was kind of eager to and Brim to do something on my own, because then I already knew a lot about the technology through the retrofit projects in Iceland, and it was a very strong motivation to show that it was possible to electrify the maritime sector, because at that time it hadn't really come far at all. So both contributing to a technological green shift has been a motivation and passion from the start, but also the educational part related to the content of our tours, the stories we tell our guests, how we, for instance, in northern Norway, now we do whale watching in northern Norway. The season just started a few weeks ago, and we have we have people from all corners of the world, 300 people a day, more or less, and it's a perfect platform to actually make them more aware about, well, educate them about the wildlife, educate them about what is important as a person to do to preserve what we have, and give them the passion that also drives their own change. So that has been also maybe the single most the single biggest passion for me has been the kind of knowing that this is a platform to positively influence a lot of people. And I think this year we're probably carrying 120,000 guests from all over the world. And if we over time manage to make them more aware of what they self can do to be a positive change, then yeah, I think that's probably our greatest impact. And then of course I hope that with the technology we have developed that we can also then contribute in the actual kind of green technology shift. But it always starts with the people. Yeah.
I love that part of really educating people, and that feels really meaningful. What about now I have two questions to follow, but the cool thing I think is that at Bellona you were actually warming up and preparing the the regulatory part of it, and like kind of building educating the market before you started the company. You knew at that time you will start do something more?
No. And then I actually wanted to be a politician.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably for the same reason, like being able to
do the change.
Do the change, yeah. But so yeah.
Do you still want to be a politician?
Maybe at some point, yeah.
Looking forward to follow.
Oh, yeah.
Since you mentioned technology, so tell us more about technology, because there is something more than just a bot.
Yes.
It's microphones, drones, and you collect a lot of data.
Yes. So one thing is the technology we use as a part of the tour and the experience. For instance, a underwater drone that we use on most of our tours up north to show the guests how it looks like underneath the surface. So we launch the drone, and then they can see the kelp. It's not always very spectacular, but it's still, most people haven't really had their eyes underneath the water. So that's a part of the educational content we have, and the creating awareness part of it. Then the technology of our boats, we have now built 5 boats, and already from the beginning we had a vision to develop an optimized electric vessel, that could be standardized, because what we saw that the very few projects at that time that were electrified were more or less just pilots. They were built for one specific purpose, a little too complicated, too expensive. So we wanted to go back, and we have like a philosophy, electric by design. So in the whole design aspect of the vessels, like in every decision we make on board on what ventilation system to use or what toilet pump, it's about energy efficiency, it's about weight. We want to use most of the energy to make the boat go forwards, not for consumption on board. So that has been a challenge. I mean, me and Espen were both social scientists. My father, who has been like the main driver from the beginning on the innovation, he is a musician or a music teacher by education. But he's also a captain, and he has a lot of hands-on experience. But we didn't really have the formal competence. So when we went to the first shipyard, we weren't maybe taken properly seriously. And I understand why, of course. But we had a very clear idea, and we also knew from the other projects we've done that by simplifying, by optimizing, you can get much further with the electrification part. Also, of course, inspired by Tesla, how they have had also electric by design from the beginning. They were never colored by the way to build a fossil car. They didn't have that in mind. They just did it from scratch, and that's basically what we've also tried, like how to optimize and how to make electrification possible in the greater extent. So from the first boat to the second, third, fourth, and fifth, we have always improved the systems. We have even developed our own electrical motor together with a partner in our company in Italy.
But they're only for your boat, so you're also selling to others?
Now we're actually starting to sell them. Yes,
so that's a new business model.
That's a new business model. So we have a daughter company, and that is Brimtech. And we also started that very early because we saw that was one of the learnings from the family company, that mixing operations and innovation, it can be hard. So we wanted to, we did that in Norselling in Iceland. And so now we want to avoid that it became too intertwined, so we wanted to separate it. So we have a Brimtech as a daughter company with a team that works on innovation, and the motor is one result of the work we've done, and now we're also working on developing batteries that are more efficient and lighter. And and the whole system and the whole kind of skateboard, everything below deck, the whole propulsion line, the electric propulsion, is also something that we might be able to both scale up and sell in the future. So maybe in 5 years the tech part is bigger than the tourism part.
Yeah. Yes, it's probably a smart way to think ahead of also not being dependent on other. So yeah, kind of
Others to
other
innovate.
parties. Yeah. Was it a conscious decision by you, or?
Not really. It was more just driven by the lack of options. Because we did screen the whole market for like the optimal components, no batteries, and no propellers, and we didn't find the system we needed. So that was also the drive for innovation. Then we started to search in other businesses, and when we, for instance, found the producer in Italy. That one was not producing for the maritime sector, it was producing for like cable cars and also some UK Navy vessels, but not for this kind of application. But we saw that what he had was very compact and powerful motors that would be perfect for small boats like ours. It's only 24 meters, so you don't have a lot of space. So it's been driven mostly by a lack of options, but also by the very strong wish to optimize and get as far as needed for us to be able to run on electrical power. So it's been a very exciting journey, and actually now we are quite in the forefront, I would say, in the electrification of boats this size.
On a European scale, or?
Yeah, probably globally. We get a lot of requests from actually all over the world. Companies that do whale watching Canada, Australia.
Request for helping them to
Yeah, or even buy our boats.
So what do you do with those requests? Do you have a capacity to go that direction?
We actually might do soon. We did definitely not have it 1 or 2 years ago, but because both me and Espen and also our CFO, we have not only produced boats but also kids for the last years. So it's been this is the longest period now. We have had 1 year with all of us at the office together. And that's the longest period since we started.
Because you have produced kids at the company at the same time, and everyone and the management got kids.
Yes, everyone can imagine.
And how is that? Is it challenging, or it's helping that you have same challenges? So what is that for you?
It's of course challenging when kids are small. We have like sick leave. No, and parental leaves, like taking turns on that. But it's also good because then we have very good understanding. We're in the same situation. I think that helps too. And then so we were on a tour. We were launching a new pilot here in Oslo the other day, and it was a Sunday, so we all brought our kids. So it was like a kindergarten in the upper saloon, and then there was a classical concert in the first saloon. It works quite well.
But going back to like motors, batteries,
Yeah.
it's a lot of investment,
Yes.
and it's pretty hard in itself to build a hardware company, and you have that actually pretty big
Yeah.
part of hardware. So how do you do that, and how were you looking for investors?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think since we are developing the hardware for our own use, it in a way makes it easier to innovate because we see firsthand what we need to do in the next month to improve. And we're also at the same time generating income on the vessels. So we're not putting a lot of money in assets that are not being commercialized. So we are the client and the producer at the same time. That said, when we started the company and when we decided to invest in the first boat, Brim, we hadn't decided, like, it was just building one boat. We hadn't really thought that we would build more. We hadn't thought that we would spend so much time in innovation and technology. So we crowdfunded it with 45 friends, families, and pools, as you sometimes say. And luckily we had a lot of people that believed in the crazy idea. And also with my father selling his shares in Iceland, we had like more than enough capital for the first vessel. And then we got a request from Hurtigruten and Svalbard to build a vessel for Svalbard. And that was only half a year after we started building the first vessel. And then we thought, okay, we got a good agreement with them, a charter agreement for 5 + 4 years. Went out to the market, first in Northern Norway, because we really liked the idea of having local people, local investors. So we went all in, had a good agreement with Hurtigruten, wanted to invest in the second boat, but it was hard. We got audience and we talked to a lot of people and investors, but thought it was risky and both new technology, also like social scientists. We didn't really have the track record. I could show that we operated North Sea Norway, but that was like a completely different structure. This was all new and only drawings, nothing physical. So it took, we thought it would take 2 months and 8 months.
To raise money,
Second boat. Yeah.
and it took
8 months. Yeah. But we managed, and we got in a private equity fund that had they bought 18% of the company, and then they had option. So it was an emission with just enough own capital to actually invest in the second boat, and then we also had the option to buy majority. And that lasted for approximately 2 years. Both parties realized it wasn't
a good match.
No, it wasn't.
How was that feeling? You spent quite some time raising, you got the award, you gave it part of the company, your baby,
Yeah.
and there is not much. What was the big?
It was tough. It was weird. We didn't really know what they would want to do. So we started just by raising the ship directly to the investors, saying, don't feel this actually. And eventually, we negotiated for a year to get to the agreement that we then were able to buy the shares. And they just got the option. And of course, they also realized that, I mean, if we didn't want them there, well, they could call the option, I think, majority. That wouldn't be.
So how did you realize it was not a match? Was it
Well,
communication? Was it some issues?
yeah, there were a number of things. It was, I think the competition, they also had shares in the leading company. It was, but like the most important thing was that we were, of course, new in the game and we know much more now than we did then. But they're like short-term Horizon, um, which is natural to the fund, it was just a way to show this. We were still building boats, and we wouldn't make money in years, and we wanted to grow organically. We didn't really want to be a part of a hard exit, and those are of course things we should have thought about before entering this partnership.
So with these learnings, your next investor on board, the big one was
Yes.
FAR,
That was
which
fun,
is a big family in the Norwegian
Yeah.
office. So what was that experience?
Oh,
Was it a good match?
that was a very good match. And we approached FAR because after learning that a PE fund was not right for us at this stage, we started thinking, okay, what would be the industry? And that is probably one of the most attractive investors in Norway. And they have the values, the vision, the long sight, patience, and they're very responsible owner. So that kind of triggered our curiosity. We started a dialogue, and first they got a loan, convertible loan to buy back the shares. Then a year later they converted the loan and also utilized the option to buy 5%, which we used to finance the next few vessels.
And you're happy with the decision?
Oh yeah, it's the best thing you can do.
So what is, if you can name 3 qualities of a good investor for that type of company like yours?
I think like trust and listen to founders. They might not have the same actual knowledge or lack some competences, but they know how you have, and the rationale for starting a company, it's a lot. So giving founders trust, and secondly, I would say having like a clear communication on the timeline. Like, is it do you want to be communicating clearly what you want from you, or what kind of owner do you want to encourage organic growth? Do you want to be faster? Like, what are your expectations? Like, be open about that. Founders, they often end up in a situation where the growth of the company dilutes shares, and that might, of course, in many cases be the right thing to do. But this is something that I think everyone needs to mentally just prepare for, and therefore have a unified growth plan. It's in my opinion, a good idea. And then supporting it.
Let's go back to COVID.
Yeah.
When I started, because then you kind of been pushed to be really creative with all these restrictions and everything.
Yeah.
And you've done quite some cool pivots there. Tell us about them.
Yeah, COVID hit us hard. We had just invested 100 million and in 2 boats. And first boat we had been operating for 4 months. The second was about to receive when everything was locked down. And with high capital cost, we didn't really have the option to just park the boats. So we first started thinking, okay, can we do this market anywhere? And I thought, okay, Lofoten. Every Norwegian will probably go to Lofoten in summer if we can travel abroad. And Oslo, that's the biggest local market in Norway. So we want to go to Lofoten, they live in Oslo, and we put up a Norwegian website at that time, develop new products that we thought the locals would enjoy, like dinner cruises and brunch and bubbles. And afterward, floating yoga, and and then just last it did actually work. And that was like the first summer in 2020. And then after the summer season, and then things became a bit more hard again when the government put restrictions on alcohol. So and branch boat was really a concept that worked anymore.
So you found new concepts?
So we found new concepts. So then we did two very exciting things in the fall and the winter 2021. We had first a 7-week charter with Altea. It's a big IT company, so they chartered the boat, and the boat was like a floating studio for 7 weeks, so visiting 7 cities in Norway with like the boat studio. It was very cool. And then we did a project that we called Skoleskipet Brim, or basically school ship Brim, where we cooperated with the rescue service and made like a curriculum for kids in 4th grade. We took them. So we contacted a lot of schools and asked who wanted to take part of it. It was funded by Innovation Norway. We went around the coast and took school kids on the water, taught them about use them with a drone, taught them about marine wildlife, climate, technology, and then safety at sea. 21, we had a fire. It was one of the battery room in one of the boats. It burnt down completely. It was here in the Oslo Fjord. Luckily, there was only a crew on board, and it went very well given the circumstances. But it was still very dramatic. It's the worst nightmare anyone owning a ship that it takes fire. And it turned out that there were some design flaws in the battery room, so it was we had to rebuild the system, and also on the other boats, the second boat, which had the same design flaws. It was very it was an experience that we learned a lot. We also, one of the consequences is that we became more kind of careful about what kind of battery technology we wanted to use in the instruments. Since it's like the risk is very much related to both the technology and the chemistry, but also like how the batteries are they open or are they like closed box. So now we're developing batteries that are in a closed. Basically, each unit works as a battery and it won't stay fire.
What about the reputation of the company? Was it a big damage when they happened, or not really?
No, not really. It was luckily I think we did like everything right and as well as we did to handle the situation. And of course got some good advice and how to media. So it didn't become like a big. It didn't inspire me. There were some articles, skeptical articles. They were written by people already disliking electrical vehicles. So yeah, it was actually went okay also reputational wise, and we just made sure to inform all our partners and be fully transparent on the cause of the fire and the things we had to do to avoid it happening again.
Looks like your team is very creative.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
So how is this one of the company values? So where is it coming from?
I think just the combination of the people working together. A lot of creative and hardworking individuals in the company. I've been there for a long time, so I think we just good at seeing solutions and not afraid of testing new things. Like now we bought a concert piano for the boat in Oslo to test a new concept. So yeah, I don't know of another boat that has that this size.
People kind of on the operation and captains.
Yes.
So tell us about how you build this whole culture.
Oh, building culture. That's probably the toughest thing running a business, I have to say. So we're constantly working on building culture, but luckily that's a lot of people that apply, they do it because they think the concept is exciting. So they come in with the right values and curiosity. They know like it's, if you're a captain, for instance, it's a different job than being a captain on a passenger boat or on a big offshore vessel. You're around people all the time. It's a service we do. We create experiences. if there's a whale, you stop the boat, and there's no like fixed itinerary. It's just about making sure the experience is good every time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think from many parts we get the right candidates because of the profile, and then I think over time it gets easier because we get more known, and people often our crew, they kind of recruit people they have worked with earlier, so it's a lot through the network as well.
Your role as a leader of a company, the CEO of a company. So how has it been since you started and the obstacles you met?
I don't think it's anything you can fully prepare yourself for. So I'm gonna try to give myself enough slack to just both do my best but learn also and develop myself as a leader as we go. And it's challenging, but it's an exciting challenge, and probably the most challenging part is the combination of small kids, lack of sleep today, and being on top, and like a good example, like a motivator. Sometimes I can burst in and be like, oh, and then that's also just being human. So I think it's important to show it's a little bit like parenting. So you're allowed to show your feelings, but in general, like be fair and respect, and give feedback to your employees. It's something I'm constantly trying to work on, and then not imagine that I'm ever going to be a perfect leader. So I don't think that exists. I'd rather try to focus on the strong sides that I have, and then also improving the ones that where I'm not as strong.
So when you have thousands of tasks every day and also need to think about people, your family and everything, how do you manage to prioritize and focus?
Of course, there's a lot of work in periods, but in general, trying to prioritize what is needed to do, and saying no or not, like delegating things that I don't have to be involved in, giving my management team enough support so that they can do their job, without me having to be involved all the time. But prioritizing is of course the key, and it's a hard one. But I think in the end, like people first, relations, like family first, and also like colleagues. Some things just can't be done prioritizing. So.
How do you take care of yourself? Or do you do any hobbies, routines?
Yeah, I try to, or I'm starting to exercise a little again, bicycle to work, listen to music. But I have to say, it's not a lot of me time with those two small kids at home. The goal for the next year is to start sleeping more, and then I think I will find energy to do more of my actual hobbies, which is, for instance, downhill ski, music.
Yeah, music, is it coming from your father, being a music teacher? Or?
Yeah, actually, my mother is a music teacher as well. I used to sing in a choir. Something I want to start doing again.
Do you feel this is something which gives you energy? You can give a piece of advice to young entrepreneurs thinking of starting a business in hardware.
I would say that it's good to be two. It's not necessary, of course. Then it has to be a good match. But if you have a good co-founder, I would say that's a strength. And regardless of that, using a network and seek advice, get a professional board from the beginning. Board members, even if they're professional, they don't necessarily require any payment at the beginning. They can get share options or other things, but having a good support and people with experience, and preferably with experience from business, from working in a company themselves, either as managers or as founders.
Are you good at asking advice yourself from the board?
I think so. I think it might be my biggest strength, using an effort, and I'm unsure, getting opinions from people I know that are smart and have experience. So this has helped me a lot. So
how to find the perfect co-founder?
I think I did a good job at the first attempt, but I don't really know how how to do it.
You had the gut feeling.
Yeah, the gut feeling. Yeah, but it was about like it was in my case it was about like the work, like the work rhythm, the personality, the being like a little synced on both vision and interest, but also kind of on how to work.
How were you when you were a kid?
Oh, I was very creative. I love to read and paint, and I was also active, like outdoors. But I was also kind of shy when I started school. Shy, and I liked observing. I didn't really like being in the spotlight.
Do you think your kids, when they're grown up, they want to become entrepreneurs?
It's not impossible. Now my daughter says she wants to be a chef. I'm not sure if she wants to be that in 10 years, but I think so too. I mean, I didn't plan to, but of course my father was, and I was definitely not going to work in a family company. But okay, then I ended up in similar business. Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it's hard, but it's fun.
And were you thinking when you were small or during school times that you will be building your own company?
Oh,
Any
definitely
time?
not.
What?
No. I think I wanted to be a veterinary, something like that, or a musician. Yeah. No, I didn't really have like strong ambitions. I was kind of wanted to travel. I did travel a lot. I lived 1 year in South America, in Ecuador, when I was 17, when I lived in Austria. So I was interested in politics.
You still keep traveling, but also inspiring people to travel with the boats and in a sustainable way now.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you too.
As usually, I'm sharing my key takeaways from today's episode. We'll talk about what the founder is looking for in an investor and how to find the right match. We discussed the company culture and that how difficult it is sometimes, but how important it is to find the right people for your journey. About match between co-founders, but also about how to combine life with small kids and building a company, and especially when all those three co-founders have the same challenge at home and at work. So be creative, find solutions, and join us for a walk in the park. See you in a week.